Good day, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of the Spin Sidelines. My name is Ruben Terade, and once again, thank you for joining us in this another special episode of the Spin Sidelines. Today, we have a special guest. He's a PBA legend. He played for San Miguel in the PBA during the 90s and the 2000s. One of the greatest players to have played in the league. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Danny Siegel. Sir Danny, welcome and thanks for joining us here in our episode.
Hi, Ruben. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, first of all, before we talk about your storied PBA career, let's talk about what you've been doing so far during this quarantine. How's quarantine so far for you?
Well, I'm just following orders right now, just waiting it out and see how, things materialize and just waiting for the world to come back to, the norm.
Yeah. And of course, I heard you had plans to go abroad, maybe take a vacation. Could you tell us a little bit more of what you were supposed to do before the pandemic hit?
Yeah, actually, I was planning to, this was my travel year. I haven't had a break for a long time, and I had plans to go to Europe, and then I had plans to go to the U.S., but all that got put on hold because of this pandemic.
All right. Before we talk about your playing career, just want to ask about you being part of the LaSalle Green Archers program last year. Could you discuss how was the experience of handling the LaSalle team, and could you tell us more? What was your role there in the team?
Yeah, it was a great experience. At first, LaSalle and boss ECJ asked me to, help with the program, consult for the program. And then eventually, I was tasked to, run the program. So at first I had to, look for a new coach, a new staff, and take care of the recruiting for, this year and for, the future. And then just overlooking the whole basketball operations.
How was the experience of doing that, looking for a coach and looking for players?
It was difficult. It was challenging, and it was a lot of fun though. But I do have to say, it was definitely, a bit challenging. LaSalle had such a rich history and championships, winning championships. So, I wanted to make sure, I did my best, and, we tried. We gave it our all.
Of course, you almost came close to reaching the Final Four. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, the goal was to reach the Final Four, and we came up short. But it was kind of a crazy year.
Yeah.
Aside from Ateneo, who pretty much dominated the season, one or two games separated the second to the eighth place team. So we were right there in the running. It was just, one or two games off. We lost a couple of games by, a few points. And, that was heartbreaking, but that's basketball, and we have to move on.
Yeah. Of course, one of your recruits that really played very well, really made a big impact is Jamie Malonzo. So could you talk about him a bit, and what can you see in him moving forward?
Yeah, Jamie, I think his performance this year speaks for itself. He was the second player of LaSalle to be part of the Mythical Five team. Yeah, he's very talented. He has a bright future, and he's a great kid off the court. And he's a willing learner. I think the sky is the limit for this kid.
What do you think are the areas where he still needs to improve on? What do you think is some of the
I'm
things that
sorry.
he needs? What do you think is some of the aspects of his game that he needs to improve on from your standpoint?
I think he's still trying to figure out himself as a player. Um, I think growing up, he was used to being a role player. But out here, I really think he could be so much more. So I'm trying to transition his train of thought to be more of a scorer, more of a, because his biggest asset is probably his defense, and he's an open court player, and he could knock down the three. But I really believe that he could do so much more. So I'm just trying to mentor him to, take on a bigger role, take on something that he's not used to.
Of course, he also played for Mighty Sports last year.
Yeah.
In Dubai.
Yes.
So how do you think? How big is that?
That was huge for him. I mean, that was a great experience. Ronaldo Bachman, one of my imports for ABL, I told him to watch over him. I think he gained a lot from that experience, and we're just trying to build on that. And actually, he's been getting a lot of offers from many places. He's an exciting player. He's very athletic, and he has a lot of upside. And a lot of people see the potential in him, and he's been getting a lot of looks.
Yeah. How about your other recruits? What's the latest about them?
Yeah, also, I brought in another Division One. Jamie played Division One.
Yes.
Keyshawn Meeker.
Yeah.
He also played Division One. And then I brought in a 6'9" Division Two guy, James Laput. And I also have a few recruits coming in for LaSalle, about 3 or 4 of them. Because of LaSalle and their rich history of championships, you have to bring in high caliber players. And a lot of these guys are Division One guys. Actually, the first guy that committed to me as a player was Roosevelt Adams.
Oh,
he was supposed to play for LaSalle.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Unfortunately, he was 9 days over the age. Yeah, he just missed it by 9 days. And, I recruited him for about 6 months. I thought at the time he was eligible, but I found out a little later that he wasn't. But, I put him with Charles True, and I put him on Mighty Sports, and, he's awesome. He's the #1 draft pick, and I'm really happy for him because, I just told him about the opportunity here in the Philippines, and I would help him come over, and he's really taking advantage of it. But as for Keyshawn Meeker,
yeah,
he was a legit D1 prospect. He actually averaged 15 points his junior year, and I was expecting big things from him, but unfortunately, he had a pre-existing injury that he aggravated during the season, and we never really got to see his full potential. But the kid could play it.
Do you think if Roosevelt Adams was part of LaSalle, that would a bit change the fortunes of the team if Adams played for LaSalle?
I think so. I mean, having Adams and Jamie at the wings, it would definitely change the dynamic of our play.
Yeah, moving forward, of course,
James Laput, he's 6'9". He also didn't get to show his full potential. He actually got injured in practice. He took a nasty fall midway through the season in practice. He did a dunk. He kind of swung, and he actually fell right on his head. He went into seizures, and he was. It was a pretty scary moment, but he ended up not playing the rest of the season. But I really believe, with more games, he would have had an impact as well.
When you recruit players, Sir Danny, what do you what's the first thing that you look at this player? What's the first thing that you try to assess before you really you really become interested in that player?
Yeah, I would have to say character. You know, character plays a huge part. You have to be able to be coachable. Um, you have to be willing to learn and to fit into, you know, the coach's system. You know, recruiting it's a tough process.
Mm-hmm.
It's a vital component to a program, and you know, you always tailor guys to fit in your program. But it's tough because you have to, you know, gain the trust of the parents.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually entrusting you to the future of their kids. So you know, it's a very difficult, a lot of effort in that process, but it's really building relationships where you're comfortable about bringing him into the program and um, putting him in a good situation also.
Mm-hmm. Of course, Sir Danny, LaSalle is now have Coach Derek Pumarin as the head coach as well as I believe, the program director, if I can say that. So, what
Yep.
do you see in LaSalle moving forward with Coach Derek now with the Green Archers?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Derek has been around a long time. He brings a ton of experience. I do know he's very particular about discipline.
Mm-hmm.
He puts a premium on discipline, and that's really important for, you know, kids these age. And at the end of the day, ultimately, he's a proven winner. He's won for LaSalle in the past.
All right. That's Danny Siegel, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, Sir Danny, we're moving forward. We're moving on to another topic. Of course, we want to ask about your PBA days, particularly with San Miguel Beer. So, can I ask how were you recruited by San Miguel? Of course, you were a direct hire in 1999. So, what happened? What's the story behind you being recruited by San Miguel?
Okay. Well, yeah, I played very well in college. I was our sixth all-time leading scorer. So I had a lot of offers overseas. But the summer before my senior year, I went to visit my brother Andy, who was already at Mobile.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that summer, I went to stay with Andy, and I was around Mobile Line a lot. I went to the games, you know, and I actually fell in love with the Philippines there. You know, I just felt like they had so much passion for the game, and it was just a great atmosphere to play in. And actually, I made up my mind then before my senior year. Usually, you take 5 years to finish school. I actually loaded up my senior year so I could finish early to get there.
Okay.
So that's kind of interesting because actually at Mobile, I was actually supposed to play alongside my brother at Mobile. We kind of had it all scheduled. I was kind of staying in the background. But, you know, that year, 1999, they had a direct hire. And they were choosing Asi. I found out they wanted Asi Taalava.
Oh, okay.
So they basically told me, because Tommy Manotok was handling the team and handling Andy, and I was in contact with him. He just said, well, go play overseas for a year, and then we'll get you the next year. But, you know, like I said, I fell in love with the Philippines at that time, and I wanted to go there straight away. So, you know, Bobby Rios, my agent at the time, helped me. He talked to San Miguel, Ron Jacobs. And then Coach Ron got in contact with another agent, Coach Paul, who went to my place, worked me out. And Coach Paul told me, he said, I want you to listen to what I tell Coach Ron. And I was like, okay. And when he spoke to Coach Ron Jacobs, he said, Ron, give him whatever he wants. So the rest is history there.
Yeah, the rest is history, as they say. It's quite interesting that you almost played for Mobiline.
Yeah,
Some
I
people
almost
don't
played
know
for
that.
Mobile Line. I almost played alongside my brother. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
How's your brother, by the way? Where is he now?
Oh, he's doing really well. He's in Hawaii. He's been there for the past 5 years. He's part owner of a trucking company, and he kind of runs it. So he's been established there for the past 5 years, and I got there once or twice, but we're very close. We still keep in
Yeah.
touch.
Do we visit sometimes here in Manila? When was the last time he was here?
He was actually here. Oh, I want to say 2014, I think.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. He hasn't been back for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's tough for him to get back. Yeah.
But how's life after basketball for him? Is he still
He's
playing or
enjoying it.
coaching?
Actually, he pretty much works from home.
All right.
He's always sending me messages. He's like, I'm working, but the background is like the beach in Hawaii. He pretty much works on his computer and kind of just runs things through home. So he's really enjoying himself. He's doing well for himself.
I remember when he was here. I think he had a jeepney during his playing days. Could you confirm it? Is it true?
Yes, that's a famous jeepney.
Yeah.
That thing had air conditioning,
Wow.
lights. We used to take it out of town. It was a lot of fun. I mean, he's always been into trucks. That's one of his things.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where his profession took him after his playing days. But yeah, he had a great jeepney. He had it all custom, and I remember I'd be driving with him, and he would just pick up random guys off the street and just be like, "Hey, you need a ride?"
Why do you think he fell in love with the jeepney? What's the story behind it? Why did
he basically had two things he loved in life: trucks and basketball. That was it. Growing up, he always had trucks, and he was always playing basketball.
Wow, that's
I'm
an
glad he's
interesting.
still doing something he really loves.
Yeah, great story. Anyway, going back to your playing career with San Miguel, of course, you were quite successful. You were very successful during your early years with San Miguel. I think you won a lot of championships, of course, 4 finals MVPs. How was that early years with San Miguel like, playing with Daniel Defonso, Olsen Rosella, of course, being coached by Coach Jong Yuchiko, and of course, Coach Ron had a very big impact in you being with the Beermen. So how was it playing for the Beermen during that era?
I mean, it was great. Right from the beginning, it just seemed like we all clicked, especially Danny Ildefonso and Olsen, myself. Everyone, and the rest of the team, but everyone had a common goal, and it was all about, individual sacrifice and what it takes to win a championship. And, sometimes chemistry for teams, it's built over years, but for some reason, right from the start, it was immediate for us.
Yes. Winning the Rookie of the Year in '99, of course, winning 2 championships also during that year. How was the feeling like getting that success immediately in your PBA career?
Yeah, I mean, looking back, my rookie year, that was the time when they had, direct hire, and there was a lot of competition. So it was a huge accomplishment for me. You had Asi Talava, you had Eric Mink, you had, I don't know if you remember these guys, Al Segova, Ralph Parker, Donna Yato, Sonny Alvarado. I mean, it was pretty much arguably, one of the best rookie classes in the PBA. So, to win it was, definitely a big honor.
And then, of course, you played alongside a few imports who have made a name for themselves here in the Philippines, particularly Lamont Strotters. He's really a legend here. How was playing with Lamont Strotters?
It was great. It was a great experience. Um, I've never met anyone that was as competitive as him as an import. I mean, usually imports, they know they have the talent and they're good and they don't take practice seriously. Not him. Every day he was competing every day, and it made the team better. It made myself better, and the results speak for itself. He's definitely one of the best imports I've ever played with. His attitude was it was great, and he was just a super competitor. Same thing with Turkin Mott.
Yeah,
Every day
Turkin
in
Mott.
practice,
My
he was the same
question.
way. He brought a lot of energy. He would actually get mad at me if I didn't shoot the ball. So I love Turkin Mott. He's like, "You just shoot it, I'll rebound."
Okay.
But he was again a fierce competitor, and that's why those guys were successful.
First, you won 4 Finals MVPs during your career, and that's a PBA record. I'm not sure if you're aware of it. So, how is it? Why is there? Why? What's your feeling about it? Winning the Finals MVPs, because I'm sure that's a testament to how you really perform and step up during the right moment.
Exactly. I mean, that's probably one of the proudest moments, or proudest accomplishments I have is winning those, Finals MVPs, because, as a player, you have to play for something other than yourself. And that just showed that, to my boss, to our team, to my coaches, to the fans, that, I stepped up when it mattered most. And, that's important to me.
I don't really want to put you on the spot, but of course, San Miguel is also one of the dominant teams, most of the dominant team currently in the PBA. How would you compare those San Miguel days with San Miguel of today?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you're thinking about different generations.
Yeah.
I have all the respect for the team now. They're proven winners, just like us. But when it comes down to it, I'd have to go with us because we're that competitive, and it would be a great series. I'm sure it'd be tough to beat them. I mean, they have the best player that ever played in the PBA, I think, in Jumar Fajardo.
Yeah.
And they have, just a talented, stacked team. Like, you have Alex Cavagna, you have Chris Ross, you have Marshall Lassiter, Arwin Santos. I mean, those guys are legitimate players. But of course, you have to go with your team.
Of course.
Not to say that, I don't know, it's tough to compare, but with us, we just had so much pride and we had so much competitive in us that I think, at that time we could have beat anyone.
Yeah. We are with Danny Siegel, our guest for this Spin Sideline episode. And of course, your career there were also obstacles along the way with your basketball career. And one of those obstacles was when you were injured in 2002 when you were about to play for the national team in the Asian Games. How tough was that, getting injured, I think months before the Asian Games in Busan? How tough was it?
Actually, it was 2 days before we were leaving for the national.
Yeah, right. You're right.
2 days. I went a whole year. It was devastating. It was by far the biggest hurdle in my career. We worked so hard that year to prepare, and the last tune-up game, the last tune-up game against Qatar, 2 days before we were going to leave, I ruptured my Achilles. And, for me, it was, the toughest thing I had to go through physically, but more mentally, because at the time, a ruptured Achilles back in 1999, that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people were saying that was, a career-threatening injury.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was only 26 years old. I had a good start off
Yeah.
in my career, and to have that, to have people say that your career might be over, it was kind of tough.
Mm-hmm.
But I was very lucky that I was playing for San Miguel, an
Mm-hmm.
owner that really cared about his players. He actually, after Dr. Khan last, gave me immediate surgery here. They sent me to the States to do therapy for a
Okay.
year and a half. And I did it with the best.
Mm-hmm.
I did it with Kobe Bryant's personal physical therapist, Judy Citos,
Oh,
who now
okay.
is like the Lakers head therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So they really took care of me, and I got the proper treatment, and um, I really focused on getting back. And afterwards, I think I came back a little bit stronger, a
Yeah.
lot stronger.
Mm-hmm. During the Asian Games, were you able to watch the games back home, or was it tough for you to watch the games, especially when the team lost to Korea in the semifinals? Were you able
It
to watch the
was,
games?
it was, of course.
Mm.
Actually, I had surgery that night, and then we were
Mm.
leaving 2 days later. So I did follow
Mm-hmm.
to Korea. So I was there in
Mm-hmm.
crutches watching that game. It
Mm-hmm.
was heartbreaking. We played well, and it really came down to the breaks of the game. I mean,
Yeah.
Korea came down and hit a three off a bobbled a loose ball, just picked it up and hit a
Yeah.
three. It was almost like they were destined to uh, win that game,
Mm-hmm.
and it was heartbreaking. But yeah, for sure, for me personally, not being able to be out there, I think I was, pretty much at the top of my game back then, and I definitely thought I could have, helped them.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you came back from that injury, and like you mentioned, you thought that you're even better than during those early years of your career. So, how were you able to become mentally strong and mentally focused after that injury? How did you do it?
Yeah, I mean, it was perseverance. I actually became like a student of the game.
Okay.
I started doing a lot of research on sports psychology because I didn't
Mm,
think I was going to be as athletic. So I wanted to make sure I had some kind of edge, maybe a mental edge.
mhm,
So I started studying about, you know, um, sports psychology and training your brain, training your mind that, your body follows your mind. So I just kept a positive attitude. And, a year and a half later, I had probably one of the best years of my career. That's the year I scored 20 plus points 19 straight times.
yeah.
And again, we won another championship and comeback player of the year. So, you
Hmm.
know, after that injury, it probably, made me a lot tougher.
How was the feeling like winning that best player of the conference award, winning the championship, comeback player of the year after the injury? Was it a bit more special, perhaps, than your early accomplishments?
Yeah, it was a great feeling because, I put in the work to get better. I mean, it was a difficult, it was an uphill battle for a year and a half. Actually, it wasn't just that
Hmm.
for one surgery. I ended up having two more
Okay.
during that therapy session. So I was out for almost 2 years.
Hmm.
So I kept having setbacks, but I always kept a positive mind. um, and I just pushed through it all, and got to where I was, and I was happy that all that hard work I put in really paid off.
Mm. Of course, some people also say that you're maybe one of the greatest PBA players of all time, if not for the injury. Uh, what's your take on that? Because a lot of people have comments like that you could have become one of the, at least in the conversation, the greatest player in PBA history.
I mean, that's obviously a huge compliment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think the injuries kept me back so much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, it was all about winning and winning championships.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there's always going to be someone's going to have some kind of they have to some people have to take self-sacrifices, for the good of the team, or take on a different role. My role might have been different earlier in my career than later. But I still think, as long as you make an impact on the team, that's all that matters. Like winning my last championship, which I had a small role on the court, was just as satisfying, because I kind of tried to mentor the young guys. I was kind of like the glue guy in the bridge between, the players and the coaches. And I was just as satisfied with that role winning a championship than I was, being the main guy.
Yeah. I want to ask also about the final years of your PBA career. Of course, you played for Talk and Text, and you've touched on being a mentor to the guys. How were you able to accept that kind of role? And how was the experience playing for TNT?
Yeah, I learned at an early age that, in order for a championship team, you got to have everyone's got to know their roles, and everyone's role is just as important as the next. So when I was with TNT, I had no problems with, being the guy backing up Ronadell and coming in for a few minutes, but also, challenging them in practice, mentoring these guys, helping the coaches, having that bridge. So, it was rewarding to me. I had fun doing it.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you had a great career in the PBA. Then what made you decide to retire? Was it a tough decision for you to retire?
It was. It was. Actually, I was already 41 at the time, I believe. 41. The mind was willing, but the body, it was a little tougher.
Yeah.
But I probably could have grinded it out for a few years. But I've been playing for 19 years, so it was time to step away, and I was okay with it.
Yeah. I'm just curious, after you retired from the game of basketball, you were still in the news because you were being mentioned as one of the candidates for being the next PBA commissioner. So, which was kind of surprising to some. So, what is the story behind that? You being considered as one of the possible replacement for, I believe that's Mr. Chito Salud. So, what was the story behind that?
Yeah, actually, when I was still playing for Talking Text, and I was, still figuring out if I want to play another year or so, I was just asked for an interview for the commissionership, and one interview led to another, and I ended up on the short list. But like right now, I think Commissioner William Marshall is doing a fantastic job there. He's well liked, and I really think he's going to be there for a long time. Basketball is my passion, and at that time, I've always been a willing learner, and
Mm-hmm.
I catch on things pretty quickly, and um, I would have definitely put a lot of effort into it. Commissioner Willie is doing a good job for them, and I really believe he's going to be there for some time now.
Yeah. Of course, after your playing career, you coach. You're part of the coaching staff of Ala Pilipinas. How was the experience being part of that special group with Coach Jimmy, of course, Justin Brownlee, Bobby Ray Parks, and Ronaldo Bachman? How special was that team?
That was a great experience. That was my first, job as a consultant for Ala Filipinas. My first job after I retired from basketball, and being on the other side, working with Jimmy Alapag and helping to bring this, to form a team and win a championship in our first year. It was pretty special.
Mm-hmm. What can you say about the partnership of Justin Brownlee and Ronaldo Bachman at that time? How were they as players and as persons during that period?
Some of the best imports I know. I mean, in all aspects, on and off the court, we just had a great relationship with them. Justin Brownlee is probably one of the nice. If you don't, I'm sure you already know. He's probably the nicest guy you ever met.
Mm-hmm.
And to be as talented as he is, and to handle himself the way he does, he's such a pleasure to have as a player. And Ronaldo Bachman, his experience, his input, his influence that he had on his teammates was immeasurable also. I mean, those two were, the epitome of great imports.
Mm-hmm. And how about the locals? Of course, Bobby Ray Parks was a big part of that championship, winning the MVP. How was that time?
He was a huge part. Ray was, Ray, I think, is misunderstood. Okay. Before I met him, I heard some things about, how he was at NU, or he wasn't winning, or he's got kind of an attitude. I never had that. I never experienced that with Ray. I think he's one of the, he's one of the best players I've come across in a while, and he's going to show it soon. Yeah. He's at the time he won a MVP the year before, but he didn't win a championship. And the question was, could he bring the team to the championship? And we challenged him all the time. And as we were definitely hard on him, but he was all for it. I mean, he was, like I said, he was a willing learner, and he was getting better and better as the year went on. And he proved that he won a championship. He was the MVP.
Yeah.
And now he's strutting his stuff in the PBA. He's gonna go down as one of the best players to ever play this game in the Philippines.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great attitude. Great kid.
Mm-hmm. And of course, with Alab, you had Coach Jimmy and Eric, Coach Mac. Of course, you were kind of new in that scenario of coaching. So how were you guys able to learn from amongst yourselves in the coaching ranks? Of course, Coach Jimmy was just starting out as a coach. So how was the experience of learning with each other in this new field for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was a great experience. We all respected each other, and I think that was a major factor. Coach Mac Kuan, he was the coach of Ala the year before. Eric, and of course Coach Jimmy Alapag. Those guys were proven winners as players, and but we all kind of came together and respected each other's opinion. It was
Mm-hmm.
like an open floor. Like we would sit down, have a game plan, and we all didn't agree, but we weren't afraid to express what we were saying, and that's what I respect most about them. And we got things done. And Jimmy, give him a lot of credit for being the head coach and having the final decision. He
Yeah.
would sit there and listen and debate, and it was a big discussion, and it was a healthy discussion. And
Mm-hmm.
guys, weren't afraid to express their opinion,
Mm-hmm. All right,
and it
Danny.
worked out
Yeah.
for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Danny. Final few questions for you, and of course, one question for you. What's your future plans in basketball, in particular? Do you plan to be a head coach someday? What's your goals moving forward?
Well, I mean, since the sports world right now is at a pause,
Mm-hmm.
I still have a lot to consider. I do love basketball. It's always been a passion of mine. And I do want to follow um, and stay with what I love doing. But at what capacity still remains. Um, I still need some time to. I haven't spent time with my family, get home. I haven't had a break yet from basketball, but I have some matters that I have to take care of abroad.
Mm-hmm.
But after all this pandemic, and when the sports world gets to a norm, I'll really consider it and evaluate it.
Do we see you as a head coach someday? Do you see yourself being a coach, a head coach?
A head coach, possibly.
All right.
Honestly, when it comes to basketball, I love all aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
I love being in the front office. I love
Mm-hmm.
running the team. I love the coaching part. I love being part of uh, the the players, the development of the players. And also the recruitment. I love everything about it, and I'm just trying to find out which way I want to go. But I have time to explore and figure it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Danny Siegel, thank you for joining us in our Spin Sidelines episode. I'll give you an opportunity to say a few words to all your fans, particularly with San Miguel, who still recall your game. They still idolize you to this day. So the floor is yours.
I mean, to all my fans, I really appreciate the love and support you've given me over the years. Um, I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciate that, and it means a great deal to me. So thank you. Stay safe and take care.
Sir, it's been a pleasure to interview you. Thank you for accepting once again our invite, and we hope to see you very soon.
I appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Danny Siegel, and that concludes another episode of the Spin Sidelines. Thank you again for watching us. Of course, for more sports news, please visit us at spin.ph, and of course, follow us on our social media accounts for more updates in the world of sports. My name is Ruben Terrado, and this is the Spin Sidelines.